harm a hair on her foot, and I'll brain the lot of you.
What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from the Quartering, and as suspected, we have a little bit of follow-up Nielsen ratings data for The Lord of the Rings of Power, and as suspected, they are no longer in the #1 spot. On top of that, we're seeing massive fan backlash after the latest episode, leading into their, what they call, a teaser trailer for the season finale, which was really more like a recap of the season and not really a teaser for the finale, getting absolutely ratioed into oblivion. I mean, like, just brutally bad. Let's get into everything. By the way, thank you everyone who has joined me on Locals. We just passed 5,000 people there. I have a more formal announcement going out later this week, but I am leaving social media for the most part. I'm handing it off to Maggie, you all may know her, because I want to spend more time talking directly with my viewers and less time arguing with bad faith internet weirdos. So I'm asking people, you may have gotten an email from me today, or maybe you saw me post on Twitter. At the very minimum, take a minute, open a new tab, go to thequartering.locals.com and follow me there. It's free to follow. Also, I left a link, it's in my latest post, to Gilded. Gilded is a free speech alternative to Discord. I won't say free speech, but it's definitely like far less bad. I mean, like, I don't really know how else to describe it. It's just much better. And you can see, this is my Gilded. It has chat rooms for everybody. You can voice chat, you can text chat, you can find people to play video games with, you can find people to play D&D with. Absolutely free, obviously. These will be the two places exclusively I spend my time. So please do follow me on Gilded today. It'll be the single best way to stay in touch with me. And I want to talk to you. You know, the comment sections can be difficult, and Twitter is almost impossible, and Facebook's a time suck. I've found that I really enjoy using Locals because I can just, or Gilded, one of the two options. Gilded's a little easier because Locals has some restrictions, but both is the perfect combo. So, Cobra Kai kicks Rings of Power out of top streaming spot. What? 4 platforms, Netflix, Disney Plus, Prime Video, and HBO Max, have a title in that tops 1 billion minutes in September 5th through 11th. Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power held steady in its second week of release, but it gave up its #1 spot in the streaming rankings. The Nielsen SVOD charts for September 5th through 11th. Now, this is what's nuts. I feel like they're in cahoots with streaming services because it's like you can't figure out where their viewership actually is until like a month and a half after it comes out. But Netflix's Cobra Kai claimed the top overall spot for the week, which saw a premiere of the show's 5th season. It drew 1.74 billion minutes of viewing time across its 50 episodes. So when you have a show with like an existing season, even like just one previous season, when you get like the reveal, or I'm sorry, like the season 2 or season 3 or season 4, you'll always get people going back and watching the old ones. So it can be a little misconstrued. Like when we looked at the Nielsen ratings before, Game of Thrones, which hasn't been on the air in years, was still like in the top charts because of all the hype around House of the Dragon. Netflix's Cobra Kai claimed the top overall spot, which saw the premiere of its 5th season. Another Netflix show, Devil in Ohio, jumped by 92% over its debut week to finish second among original series at 1.38 billion minutes. The Rings of Power came in at just over 1.2 billion minutes for Amazon's Prime Video, a 4% decline from 1.25 billion for its premiere week. Now, Nielsen says that viewing of the 3 available episodes was fairly evenly distributed, with 41% of that time, about 495 million minutes, going to episode 3, which debuted on the 9th, and the remainder to the previous 2. This is what's interesting. You aren't seeing, first of all, you aren't seeing an increase, which is not a good sign. 4% isn't a massive decline, but it is a decline. And that's not what you want in season 1 of a brand new show. You want, obviously, word of mouth, buzz, and things of that nature to have it grow and grow and grow. Like, you probably don't get, like, good shows probably don't get 100% of their high viewership in the first episode, right? Buzz takes a while. People take a while to tune in. Not in this case, where you see like Batwoman, for example, which debuted to like 1 million or 2 million viewers, and then just steadily declined until I think they were down to like 300,000 or 400,000 viewers. A 4% decline probably doesn't sound like a lot to you, but it matters because it means nobody new is tuning in. The very small dip for The Rings of Power in week 2 is similar to that of season 3 of The Boys, which fell about 3% a week after its 3rd season debuted. I mean, you have original series. It is now, by the way, in 3rd place. It is not just in 2nd place. It is 3rd place. Cobra Kai with 1.7 billion minutes viewed, which is even more than Rings of Power. But again, they had previous seasons, so to be fair. Devil in Ohio with 1.38 billion. Then Lord of the Rings at 1.2 billion, which is still slightly more than House of the Dragon at 1.02 billion minutes. But if you combine that and Game of Thrones, well, now you're at 2 billion. So they're taking a step back. You see Nielsen's Thor 4 and Cobra Kai tower over Rings of Power and House of the Dragon. Well, now we see Thor 4. Why is that? Hasn't that been out forever? Oh, I know, because the ratings are delayed. Okay, I get it. So when you see Thor 4, the 2 fantasy shows are essentially tied. So you see here, you might not be able to read it directly on your screen, but Netflix's Cobra Kai with 1.7 billion. Disney Plus's Thor Love and Thunder at 1.5 billion. Netflix's Devil in Ohio at 1.3, then Lord of the Rings. So in this particular chart, top 10 streaming programs for that week, it is in 4th place. Now, is it fair to include a movie in there? I don't know, maybe. But still, it's pretty nuts to see it drop at all after just a few episodes. Cobra Kai knocks Rings of Power from the top 10. And again, they get some boost from people catching up on old seasons, but things get a little bit worse here because they launched their season finale trailer. 3.7 million views. Okay, they're paying a lot of people to watch this preview. It has 7,000 likes only, which is embarrassing. And then I want to just check the dislikes here. I don't really know. I suspect it'll be, have a lot of dislikes, but people are becoming apathetic at this point. Let's see, 42,000 dislikes. So it has 42,000 dislikes, and most of the comments are just dunking on the show. Never thought in my life I would root for Sauron. The whole series has a big, somehow Palpatine returned energy. I'm not going to read any of the spoilers. I'm impressed all of Galadriel's facial expressions from the show were captured in this trailer. You see, let's see if we can squeeze one more Bronwyn speech into the finale. I just rewatched the Lord of the Rings trilogy. What a masterpiece. Even after 20 years, The Hobbit is good, but Lord of the Rings is on another level. Final trailer, more like a season recap. The show makes me appreciate things like Jar Jar Binks more and more. For a production that had an unlimited budget, for this to be the best that they could come up with is shocking. And then if we look at, I believe it was Tom's, there was another article here. This came out over the weekend. It's time to admit that Rings of Power is just fan fiction. I mean, I agree with you, Tom's Hardware or Tom's Guide, but I mean, most of us knew that. We are coming up to the season finale of Rings of Power, and unfortunately, the show's story problem has not gotten any better. In fact, after watching episode 7, I don't think there's a chance. I think there's a chance it is intentionally tearing up the existing story that it doesn't even have rights to. As I explained in my last piece, the Rings of Power has a major problem that could alienate fans, which is that it does not actually have the rights to a lot of the story that should make up the bedrock of the show. This has caused Amazon essentially to make everything up, only borrowing the names of characters and major events that it can take from the Peter Jackson films, The Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings trilogy of books and appendices. In fact, according to a recent feature in The Hollywood Reporter, the pitch was to create 5 seasons of TV from the Galadriel narrated prologue, voiced by Cate Blanchett, from The Lord of the Rings, A Fellowship of the Ring. If you think that seems like a difficult task, you're right. And one of the showrunners, Patrick McKay and JD Payne, and it's one of the showrunners, Patrick McKay or JD Payne, are currently failing. Real quick, if you have not seen the show yet, turn back now, get into spoilers quickly. I'm not going to read any of the spoilers because we already know. Of course, Rings of Power has a Galadriel problem. As bad as the Rings of Power may have been early on, a recent revelation in episode 7 just soured the entire story. Galadriel, it turns out, has been hiding a canon-breaking secret the entire time. Let me be clear, the problem with the show isn't that Galadriel, played by Morfydd Clark, is the lead. I was excited to see that Galadriel was billed as the lead of the show. As one of the 3 bearers of the Elven Rings of Power, Elrond and Gandalf, all the others, though Gandalf has been given his, of course, but she is in the pantheon of the most important elves of the Second Age of Tolkien's world. But this version of Galadriel feels completely at odds with that idea. In the first episode, she essentially cast out her grandnephew, Gil-galad, who inexplicably looks decades older than her, despite being both thousands of years old at this point. This felt odd at the time, since she's notably married to Celeborn at the time, and it was shocking that she abandoned him without any thought. I don't want to go into the spoiler. Obviously, the timeline makes no sense. I mean, Lord of the Rings of Season 2 is not releasing when you think. Even though production has begun on the Rings of Power Season 2, the lengthy process means it will likely be a while before we see it. Everyone's going to forget about it. That's probably not true. It's just too much of a hilarious disaster. Next week's Nielsen's ratings are going to be the big mamma jamma. After season, episode 1, 2, and 3, that's when people really started dropping off. We're going to have to wait and see how big that drop may be. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you leave a like on it and you click that red subscribe button down below, and we'll talk to you again real soon.